Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mirza. So before I proceed, let me just quickly share my screen first. And okay, can you give me a hand, Mirza, if you can see already my screen?
Yeah, yeah, I can see.
Okay, so thank you again, once again, Mirza. So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our webinar titled Get LHDN e-Invoice Ready in Under 7 Days. So let me just quickly introduce myself. So my name is Yan, and I'm a project consultant from Assist, and I work closely with businesses across various industries to implement solutions that drive efficiency, reduce operational bottlenecks, and ensure compliance with evolving regulations like the Malaysia's e-invoicing mandate. So in today's session, I'm actually about to share something that will either make you nervous or excited, perhaps, but hopefully both. But in exactly 40 minutes or 45 minutes at what our host mentioned. So we will try to transform you from a potentially being overwhelmed from LHDN's e-invoicing mandate to becoming a compliance champion. So I hope by the end of this session, you'll walk away from you'll walk away with a clear roadmap to compliance and, more importantly, a way to make it less overwhelming and more manageable, right? Okay, so before I start my presentation proper, maybe I'd like to make this webinar some kind of like an interactive one, right? So I would like to ask something like, as in maybe of you, what if I told you that the biggest digital tax revolution in Malaysian business history is happening right now, and many of you are still unprepared, right? So maybe we wanted to know who among you, or maybe how familiar are you with LHDN's e-invoicing mandate? So maybe you can type in, we will be flashing some poll survey, so you can just freely select your answer. How familiar are you with LHDN? So one, meaning not at all, you haven't heard any of it. It's your first time to hear about it. Two, whether you have heard about it, but you still don't know where to go next, right? Or three, somewhat you're prepared and you're still something missing. That's why you are here in this webinar. And for those who are of you who are already fully ready, right? I mean, congratulations to all of you. But I guess there's still some missing part, because I mean, you will not be here in this webinar if all of you have already like compliance, right? So maybe there's still a reason behind. So we wanted to know that. So feel free to answer the poll that we are flashing, so that at the end of the session, we can somehow see the insights coming from our audience. Because I've seen a lot answering that, this is their first time. They still don't know what to do. Some answers too, and I think there's one who answered fully ready. So, I mean, congratulations to those who answer fully ready, right? So, again, every business, right? Whether you're a freelancer or a growing SME or even an established bookkeeping firm, you're about to face a massive digital transformation, right? In today's session, we're not just going to talk about surviving this change, but actually we're going to talk about thriving. All right. So, we know for a fact, right, that Malaysia is going through a major digital tax transition, right? So, big companies have already started, from SMEs, bookkeepers, and even freelancers. So, deadlines are already coming soon for some of you, or maybe it all started already, just like in some of the medium enterprises, it started this year, just this January 2025. And for some small enterprises, it already started few months back, last July 2025. And of course, even micro and small businesses, right? Whether you like it or not, you still have to comply by next year, 2026. Now, I guess knowing your deadline is something that is already been given, but maybe what makes it hard for some of you still not able to comply with this e-invoicing mandate. So maybe let's talk about that one by one. But let me start first about giving you the real struggles many of you might already be facing, right? So since this webinar is actually designed for SMEs, freelancers, and bookkeepers, so let's break it down, some of the challenges that some of you might be facing. So let's talk about the reality on the ground for SMEs first, right? So the one you're seeing in your screen right now is actually the numbers that actually tells a clear story. So more than half of SMEs, even 55%, around 55%, say that they don't fully understand the regulatory requirements. And second, only 31% have successfully integrated e-invoicing, and almost one out of five haven't even begun yet. And close to half still struggle with digitizing their data and worry about security privacy, right? But what does the mean, or what does that mean in practical terms? So if you look at the bottom portion, right? So let me just highlight some of the challenges some of many SMEs are facing, right? Number one, regulatory confusion. So the guidelines keep evolving, and many SMEs simply don't have the time to decode complex documents, right? Second is technical limitations. Not every SME has the IT team or the right system in place. And of course, third is high cost. Traditionally, setups can require significant upfront investment, which isn't always realistic for smaller businesses. And data digitization also is one of the biggest consideration. Like, imagine, think of years worth of invoices, receipts, and records that now needs to be converted into digital format. So imagine how heavy lift is that for some of you, right? And second to the last is security concerns, like handling sensitive financial and customer data properly isn't a big responsibility for every one of us, right? And last but not the least is actually resistance to change. And I think a lot of you can actually relate to this, that many teams are still comfortable with manual process, right? And switching to something new feels really intimidating for a lot of us. So when we actually ask some SMEs, right, why aren't most SMEs are ready? So the answer is actually clear, that it's not that they don't want to comply. It's actually about, the barriers is feels too high for them. So that's one of the main reason. Now, let's shift to the bookkeepers, right? So bookkeepers are the professional who are often right in the middle of this transition, right? So bookkeepers face a different set of challenges compared to SMEs, and for most bookkeepers, they often juggling multiple clients at once, right? So let me just quickly cite an example. One is managing multiple clients, but a lot of you, or a lot of audience actually here, is our bookkeepers. So bookkeepers, freelancers, and even SMEs. But for bookkeepers, managing multiple client system can actually be something that you guys are really still having a hard time to 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 manage, right? Also ensuring consistent compliance, where regulations are evolving quickly and bookkeepers need to apply them accurately across diverse client portfolio, right? And even the client education and training. So bookkeepers often carry the responsibility of explaining new processes, walking clients through, what are the mandatory fields that they need to comply for them to send in the LHDN's mandate, and even highlighting the risk of non-compliance. And another one biggest hurdle is data accuracy and validation. Now, even bookkeepers do their job right, but if clients provide incomplete or incorrect data, invoices can get rejected, right, by the MyInvoice system. And I think a lot of the clients that we've been working with exactly experience exactly the same problem. Like, how come my invoice got rejected? So those kinds of problem are actually making them um making them not to fully comply with what they need to comply. And finally, there's of course ERP and accounting integration, right? As many clients use different system, and integrating e-invoicing solutions into this kind of environment can be also complex and costly, right? So in short, bookkeepers aren't just doing their own work, but they're also guiding multiple clients through a difficult transition, all while trying to keep compliance consistent. So that's the main problem. Now, let me go to the freelancers, because some of our audience also are freelancers here. So I think a lot have registered and still don't know where to go to about all of this e-invoicing things, right? So for many freelancers, the challenges of e-invoicing feel very personal, perhaps, because they often don't have a team or extra resources to lean on, right? Because they work alone, right? As they call themselves freelancers. So the first hurdle is actually one, cost sensitivity, right? Even a small set of fees or subscription-based platforms can feel like a big expense when working solo or with very slim margins, right? Then next is, of course, technical limitation. Let's admit it, like most freelancers aren't IT experts, right? They just want to focus on their craft or service. Figuring out system setup or API integration can sometimes feel overwhelming to them. And third is time constraint, wherein another big factor to consider, whereas freelancers are already stretched thin, balancing client work, deadlines, and admin tasks. So imagine adding e-invoicing setup on top of that can be actually daunting for them, right? And lastly is that, second to the last is that internet dependency, right? A stable connection, because everything has been um, digital now, so everything has to go through internet. So a stable connection is actually crucial to issue and manage e-invoices. But in some areas, that's not always guaranteed, right? So it's also one big factor. And last but not the least is navigating the compliance requirements, wherein you have to identify what are those mandatory fields, and imagine 53 fields that you need to submit to the LHDN. Actually, something that like burdens everyone, including the rules around self-bill, e-invoices, and making sure everything is filled out correctly. And this could be actually a steep learning curve for someone working alone, just like the freelancer. So for freelancers, I guess the need is clear, right? The need for the solutions that actually help them remove the technical barriers, minimizes cost, and make compliance as simple and as quick as possible, so they can spend less time on paperwork and more time on actual client work, right? So now that we've seen the different challenges, right, from SMEs, bookkeepers, and freelancers, let's look into like something more practical, which is how do we actually get compliant without being overwhelmed? So let me share to you one when actually like a method or something that you don't need months of preparation or expensive consultants or even a complete overhaul of your business. But with a structured plan, you can actually be e-invoice ready in just 7 days or even lesser, right? So here, what I'm showing right now is the practical step-by-step guide of achieving LHD and e-invoice readiness in under a week, right? So of course, there are several steps that you have to like consider. For first is the assessment and education. So this is the stage where you determine your compliance deadline, just like what I have flashed earlier in my earlier slide, wherein you have to know your compliance deadline. Where should I need to comply based on this e-invoicing mandate, right? And you have to also review the 53 mandatory fields, check your current invoicing processes, those kind of stuff. Second is you have to select and integrate, right? Whether you like it or not, you still need to decide whether e-invoicing solution works best for you, or you wanted to use the free portal, which is the MyInvoice portal, which is actually free one, right? You don't have to spend anything, but of course, there's pros and cons in every decisions that we have to make, right? And of course, API integration, you still need to plan how it fits into your existing system, right? And then next is, of course, you have to implement and train, set up your system, migrate your data, and work your team or clients through the new workflow. And last but not the least is that, the moment of truth wherein you can test and go live your system, where you can actually send test invoices, validate them, and once everything works, you can now begin issuing live e-invoicing with confidence. So those are the steps that you actually need to consider. But the real strength of this approach is that it gives you one efficient use of time, right? You're making progress every day. And Second, you have clear daily objectives, like you're never wondering what to do next. And then last, it's this approach is actually designed to work for all business types. So from solo freelancers to SMEs, managing bigger operations, it all works across all business types. So instead of waiting until the last minute, right? So this 7-day plan helps you get ahead of the curves by using the step-by-step guide without having any stress at all. Okay. Now, we've seen the challenges, right? And we've walked through the 7-day action plan. But actually, the truth is, when we look at the steps, it's actually looks like simple on paper, right? But putting them into practice can still be overwhelming. So that's why we try to build something that is more than just a tool, but could be your strategic compliance ally, which is the ASSIST.biz. So here's how our platform makes compliance not just possible, making all those 7-day action plans, but actually efficient in a way, right? Like addressing cost effectiveness, time saving automation, and simplified compliance, right? So I will not go through that one by one, but maybe if I want to go deeper for each group or for all of the audience that we have in this afternoon session, maybe I wanted to highlight that, of course, for SMEs, right, it reduces the upfront cost and overcomes infrastructure barriers and simplifies the data digitization. For bookkeepers, it helps manage multiple client systems, ensures consistent compliance across portfolios, right, and even make clients training easier. And lastly, for freelancers, it breaks down the cost barriers, provides technical support, and keeps compliance simple so you can focus on your actual work. So in short, AssistBiz takes everything we've discussed, the hurdles, the roadmaps, the deadlines, and we wanted to transform it into something smooth and guided process. So you don't need to worry in all those kinds of hurdles that we talked about earlier, so that everything will go smoothly and according to what is being required by the government of Malaysia, right? So now, one of the biggest worry is that we hear from some of you, like SMEs, bookkeepers, or freelancers, is that what if I make mistakes, right? Or what if I miss one of the 53 mandatory fields, my invoice gets rejected? So those exactly the same problem that we get from a lot of our customers, and that's also the reason why we design AssistBiz to solve it, right? So let me just quickly give you an overview, like, of course, from supplier details, right? Like your company information are pre-configured, buyer information is also captured and validated automatically. And everything from dates to numbers are formatted the right way. So that's how invoice specifics are in. And when it comes to identifying even the line items and tax breakdowns in your invoices, right, it's also being handled so nothing is left behind. So everything that is you need to know or you need to submit for you to be able to comply, it's all here in the system, right? So the system actually um try to compress everything or try to simplify everything in terms of the compliance process. So from data input, validation, formatting, submission, until you get or generate the UIN, or what we call the unique identification number, or the QR code. Because I think a lot of you also still ask whether, how do I get the QR code? How do I know whether it has been validated by the LHDN? So those kind of stuff are actually um are being done and in a simple way, in a way that a simple or a non-technical user could actually understand it, and be able to use it very well, right? And and at the end of the day, of course, we're still trying to give all the benefits out of the users that we wanted to use our system, right? So instead of worrying about rules, file formats, and codes, you can actually focus on what you do best, running your business while knowing compliance is being taken care of behind the scenes, right? So I think that's one very important factor. Now, let's talk about where technology really makes compliance easier, which is the automation, right? So again, as I mentioned, like from data input, so we tried to instead of manually handling each step of invoicing, right? AssistBiz actually tried to automate the entire workflow from data input up to the payment. And when we say up to the payment, I guess a lot of businesses, of course, wanted to have a a better payment cycles, right? So from data input, instead of typing, every details manually, we try to remove the the human intervention as much as possible. It reduces human error and save times as well. Also, generation. If the system is able to create the e-invoice for you to ensure that all the mandatory fields that LHDN is being required are properly filled out with no guesswork needed. Even the submission, like we have integrated using the API so that invoices are sent to LHDN in real time, validated once it's submitted, and of course, as the best part, right? When it comes to payment, because validation is already faster, payment cycles are accelerated as well. So that means better cash flow for your business, right? But on top of this streamlined process, right, that we're talking about, I guess the four key features that bring it to life is actually the four key benefits that you can see in the bottom of my slide, right? But just to highlight, like automated e-invoice generation, I think that's already given. Real-time submission via API, where instant feedback from LHDN's MyInvoice system, right? And we can actually work smoothly with any accounting tools, just like Xero, QuickBooks, and any other ERP systems, just like SAP. And lastly, again, faster validation means clients pay quicker. So that improves also your cash flow. So instead of worrying about, compliance slowing you down, actually automation turns it into an opportunity to save time and money while staying 100% compliant, which I guess everyone and a lot of us are still looking into when it comes to identifying the right systems to put in for you to be able to have comply with this e-invoicing mandate, right? Okay, now one of the things actually we hear most is that I'm not technical, so how will I manage this, right? So I guess for some of you, like freelancers, again, many of you are actually not IT expert. Maybe since you're in the financial sector, right? Most of you are still into that financial side of things, right? Rather than focusing myself to be someone techie, I don't have time for that. So that's why AssistBiz was designed with a non-technical user in mind. Whether you're a freelancer, bookkeeper, or small business owner, the system is meant to be intuitive, guided, and supported at every step, right? So instead of worrying about complexity, you can feel confident that compliance will be simple, guided, and fully supported. So just like what we want to say always, like our goal is to make compliance simple so you can focus on running your business, right? So, okay, up to this point, I guess we've focused on compliance, right? Making sure you meet LHDN's requirements on time. But actually, the bigger picture here is that compliance is just the beginning. And with AssistBiz, compliance opens the door to something bigger. So, greater efficiency in your daily work, improve accuracy with fewer errors, I guess, and strong financial management with faster payments and long-term business growth in the digital economy. So instead of seeing compliance as a burden, think of it as a foundation to your digital journey. So actually that is where transformation begins, right? When you have the right, system in place within your organization, right? So as we wrap up today's session, let's remember the key takeaway that I have mentioned. Of course, compliance doesn't have to be complicated or overwhelming, right? But with the right approach, you can be fully LHD and e-invoice ready in under 7 days or even lesser than that. So our role is actually to make that journey as smooth as possible. So whether you're an SME, a bookkeeper, or a freelancer, we're here to simplify the compliance so you can focus on what really matters, running your business, which is running your business, right? So if you'd like to take us to the next step, you can visit our website for resources and guides, or you can even scan the QR code that you can see in your screen right now so you can be directed to try and sign up for our free trial. So we are giving a free trial so that you can freely explore the tool and you can actually experience it yourself, how it works, how we simplify things based on what I have presented. I know the information I gave is kind of like overwhelming, but what we're trying to like relay to our audience is that we're making things possible, not just possible but at the same time efficient as well. So you may also reach out to our support team or simply give us a call for a quick chat if you want. So yeah, I guess the information are flash in your screen if you have any questions. So again, thank you all for your time and attention today, and let's work together to make compliance simple, stress-free, and even an opportunity to grow. So once again, my name is Yan, and on behalf of the Assist team, thank you for joining us, and we look forward to supporting you on your compliance journey. So I'll be taking over the floor to our host, Mirza, for our next speaker. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the presentation, Yan. Before we go to demo, I'd like to remind everyone that you can get your free LHDN e-Invoice software from Assist. I have shared the link in the chat box. Feel free to use it and sign up from the link that I shared. And if you have any question about the platform, our team is ready to help, and just drop us on our email at support at ASSIST.biz. And yeah, I think we will start our demo with David. The time is yours. Thank you, David.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is David. So thank you for joining us today. I will be walking you through a live demo of ASSIST, our all-in-one hub for managing invoice, expense, and e-invoicing. So please hold any questions you have until after the demo sessions. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay, I suppose you all see the screen already. So when you first sign up onto our platform, you will be navigate to UIs like this with income, expense, approval matrix, connections, and company on the left side. These are the main features of Assist. Under connection, we have integration with Xero and QuickBooks, which we can show you later. And now I will show you how to register for the e-invoice feature. First, you select connection, e-invoice. Currently, we support Singapore and Malaysia. So you select your supporting country, and you will require to fill in some information like company name, address, postal code, CD, your contact's first name and last name, email, and as well as phone. Also, the very important information you must input is TIN, BRN, SSD, and MSIC code. These are the required field in order to get your company verified and to send to Malaysian tax authority. So after you fill in the informations, you will tick to box I agree to terms and I agree to my invoice data can be transmitted and then submit. So after the submissions, we need to up to 1 business day to validate your registrations. So once approved, you will receive a confirmation email and of e-invoice feature will be ready to use. Also, before there's one final step, which you will need to log in on your MyInvoice platform and assist as your managed intermediary. So don't worry, we will send this detailed guides on how to do this once you have signed up for the e-invoicing with us. So after the setup is complete, you can begin using the e-invoicing feature right away. These are all the information already filled. So when you want to add document, there are 2 ways two ways to add document, which is upload directly onto the platform, or you can upload document from receiving emails we already sent to you. You can see down here, there's a unique email. Okay. I will try to show you how you can upload a document from the unique email we already provide you. It's very simple. You can copy this email address, go to your email, and pass it to the email address sections. And then you also require to attach some invoice sample, and then you just click send. And then wait for a few minutes, and the system will recognize the invoice that you send. Okay, this process can take up to 30 seconds, so you might wait a little bit. As you can also see here, we have duplicate. So if your client happen to upload duplicate in your duplicate file, you can also delete it. Okay, our file is here. So when you select it, you can see on the left side the invoice, and on the right side we have all the information extracted for you, from common info to supplier, order information, line item and subtotal. So you need to select the currency correctly to your invoice, and then you can start selecting submit at e-invoicing. So here in the sections, you can see all the BRN and TIN, we already fill it in for you. But for the first time, if you send to a unique client, to a unique vendor you have, then you need to key in the BRN, TIN, and company address for the first time only. But for the second time, our system already remember it in the memories, and we will automatically have it filled in for you. So the only work you have is to check whether all the information is correct. Remember to update the date, the tax type, the quantity, and then just select submit. And there, your process is done. It's very simple, right? You can go to the e-invoice history and check for the status of your invoice. And usually we will have it verified within 1 or 2 days. You can see the status is pending here with all the information filled already for you. Or also you can check in the e-invoice under expense for the status. Okay, we will show you one complete e-invoicing we have. You can see we have a QR code already, and a download button where you can download it and send to your customer. But don't worry if you make any mistake, because we have a credit note, debit note, and refund note, so you can always reverse the process. Okay, next, I will show you how to integrate with Xero or QuickBooks, as I assume some of you are currently using. So first, we will select connect with Xero. For QuickBooks, the process is still the same, but I will demo the Xero only. So the flag here show that our system already connected to Xero, and then we will proceed to update to upload some document required. So for example, I will choose two demo document. Again, this process can take up to 30 seconds, and you can always view the upload status here. You see two of the invoice I select is currently in process. So on the system, you see there's an invoice that already uploaded. You can always select it and review the invoice for the last time for the common information, supply info, order info. You can see the button can be sent to Xero. Similar to the other invoice, you can select it, and then you can see there's a can be sent to Xero button. Also, we need to update the currency. So it's the same as your Xero or QuickBooks setting. Save, and then we can select can be sent to Xero. Now I will navigate you to Xero dashboard to see the successfully invoice that extracted. So you can go to your Xero under business, bill to pay. And there you can see the invoice that we already sent from ASSIST.biz. And after that, you can continue with your accounting process like approve or pay. Also, we have a features that we can also create an invoice from Xero and we push it to Assist, which is a two-way communications. You can always create an invoice or issues a bill, and then when you go to Assist, you check. There's an icon like this, which means it's created in Xero. Yeah, you can select the invoice. You can see the item is created in Xero, and you can repeat the process of send as an e-invoice to the Malaysia invoice, MyInvoice. So that concludes my demo portions. Thank you for your attention, and now I will be open the floor to your questions.
Thank you so much, David, for the demo. I think let's start on the Q&A that we have from the participant. Please feel free to add your Q&A on the Q&A chat board, or you can ask on the chat. There is some question here. The first thing is from Apex CEO. There is a question like 55 fields or 53. So perhaps David or Ian can answer that question. I think David or Ian can answer the question.
Sorry, I was on mute.
Alright,
Hi, Mirza. Yeah, I
yeah.
think to answer that question, I guess it's 55. Sorry, I think it's a typo in the presentation. It's 55 required fields in total for with the current e-invoice schema of the LHDN. And actually out of that 55, there are some fields that are actually really mandatory, which is I guess 37 fields.
Okay, thank you so much, Ian, for the answer. So it will be like 55 fields. Another question, there's a question from the Elsham. What if I'm using accounting software to invoice, just want to plug in only? So can you answer that question, Ian or David?
Okay, so let me just try to read the question again. So what if I'm old using accounting system, right? Is that what the question is?
Yep.
To create invoice or just want to plug and play. I don't know whether I captured the question correctly, but maybe the question is whether you are using old accounting system is if it's just a plug and play to our assist, right? So I guess as I mentioned during my presentation and even when David demo it, currently our platform is integrated with Xero and QuickBooks. So if any of you or any of our audience here are using QuickBooks and Xero, you can easily integrate it. But for other accounting system or software other than Xero and QuickBooks, yes, we can integrate as long as there's an API to it. So that's not a problem at all.
Yeah, thank you so much for the answer. Yeah. Let me check again the question. There's another question from the Q&A. Can do a demo for self-build? Yeah, perhaps can we, David, can you do the demo for the self-build?
Yeah, the previous demo is for the sale bill because the address because we send to the same customer. So if you upload an invoice and you send to the customer under the expense under the income, then it will be not marked as sales bill.
Okay. Or perhaps you can show shortly on the screen share, like how it goes. If I never receive an invoice, I just self-build. Okay. Another following up question. If I never receive an e-invoice, I just self-build. So yeah, do you understand the question, David? Sorry, I think you are muted.
Okay, I hope you can see the screen already. For the invoice that I previously demo, if you send it as an e-invoice here, you can see this invoice will be sent as a sale bill invoice. And yes, you can, if you cannot receive an invoice, you can always issue as a sale bill.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. So I hope this can answer the question from the
Yeah, because
participant.
this invoice in the expense area, so it's marked as sale bill. If it's in the income area here, for example, this invoice, and if you want to send it as an e-invoice, then it will be not marked as sale bill.
All right, thank you so much, David, for the explanation. I think there's another question, like other training mentioned do not self-build. Can you clarify? So I think this one is still about the self-build. So other training mentioned do not self-build. Can you clarify? So I think this one is a confirmation whether we can use the self-build or not. Perhaps Ian or David can respond to this question.
What questions you mentioned?
The other training, I think for the other webinar things, mentioned that do not self-build. I mean, I think like we cannot do a self-build, so that can we clarify whether this is possible or not or cannot? Yeah, Indian or David can respond to this.
Yeah, if the amount is small, then you can always do the sale bill.
I mean, maybe hello, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, again.
Yeah, I guess maybe I just wanted to add on that question. So maybe what he's asking is that on other training session, I mean self-build is, I mean some advice to do a self-build and some advice not to do it, right? I mean, at the end of the day, it's still between the agreement of the buyer and the seller. So whether they agreed both in writing who will, issue the self-build, I guess what's important is whether you are capable to do it yourself. So with the systems that we have, I guess you have the liberty to either issue a self-build or not, but at least you have the system that can enable you to issue a self-build invoices.
Okay, thank you so much for the
I hope
answer,
I
yeah.
answered the question. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's another question. What happens if my data lost? I think this pertaining to the data that the users use on our software. So what happens if my data lost?
Okay, maybe let me answer that one, Mirza. So actually, ASSIST.biz takes data protection very seriously, right? So all information processed to our platform is actually stored securely with strict privacy controls so that your data is actually confined into, some a secured environment. And in addition to that, users have the ability to export their invoices as well, and even the reports, either in different formats, CSV, at any time, which allows you also to maintain your own backup. So I guess data loss is still one of the considerations. So I guess one of the things that we wanted to put into consideration is that your data is actually safe in our platform. It's on the cloud. And while ASSIST.biz public terms do not explicitly describe the full disaster recovery workflow, and we do not commit to like ensuring data privacy and systems reliability, but for critical compliance requirements, we actually encourage the customers to regularly export the data as added safeguard.
Thank you so much for the explanation. This is, I think, very insightful. Okay, another question, right? For example, I purchased from Hawker and as a staff meal, right? Okay, do I need to request e-invoice from the Hawker, I think, or just I need to just self bill? You understand?
As an example, hold on, I'm just reading the question. I
Yeah.
purchased from a hawker center. As a staff meal, do I need to request e-invoice or just self-bill? Well, again, that still depends on the agreement of the buyer and then the supplier. If the supplier can't provide you with the invoice, you can also make use of the self-bill if you want to file an e-invoice. So it depends whether the buyer would like to have the e-invoice himself or the supplier wants to generate the self-bill using the platform.
Okay, sure. Another question. For large enterprise, can Assist handle high invoice volume?
Can you repeat the question, Mirza?
Okay. I think this one can be later. There is another following up question. The self-bill things, I think still confusing. If Hawker send e-invoice to me, I self-bill, isn't it a double entry?
Okay, confusing. If Hawker e-invoices to me, I self-build, isn't it? Okay, maybe I'll put a scenario, right? So let's put it at scenario one, normal Hawker transaction. So meaning it could be like no self-billing. So the Hawker, meaning the seller, issues you an e-invoice to the either whatever systems they have. So you as the buyer just receive it. Right? No need to issue anything if the seller issue you the invoice. So only one invoice exists. And this one, in this scenario that I'm referring, it can only be issued by the seller. Right? Now, the scenario two were self-billing arrangement. So this one comes in a special case. So instead of waiting, let's say the hawker or meaning the seller doesn't give you any e-invoice, so you can actually create your self-billed invoice because the seller doesn't give you one. So that means as the buyer, you can actually generate your self-billed invoice via the MyInvoice portal. So you can have your receipt and then input it in the MyInvoice portal so you can send the e-invoice from there. So it has to be one only. I hope I clarify the answers to that question. Hello?
Yep, I think David, do you have any additional comment for this one about the self-bill? David, you are muted.
Yes. To add more information about Jan answers, self-bills is for vendors that not on e-invoicing, and also one more clearance is cross-border. So if happens your vendors is from another country and they not using MyInvoice Malaysia, then you can always issue a self bill and you send it to your clients, your vendor. But if they using MyInvoice as well, then you don't need to issue a self bill.
Okay, thank you so much, Yan and Levin. I think this is the last question. I am currently trying the Assist. May I know how can I integrate my accounting software? Yeah, I think
I think we've answered that earlier.
I think this one is not answered yet. I think David can share like briefly on this accounting software.
Share about the integrating with accounting software. You
Yep.
mean the demo? Okay, let me share my screen. Can you see the screen yet?
No.
Oh, let me try again.
Okay. All right. While waiting for David, I can just another question lastly. As a freelancer, can I use ASSIST.biz to prepare e-invoice for different company? And Ian can answer for this question. As a freelancer, can I use Assist to prepare e-invoice for different companies?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, can. So you just have to ingest your invoice into the platform so that you can extract the information that is needed for the e-invoice so that you can actually send it smoothly to the MyInvoice portal via our API integration. So it's open to all kinds of business types, whether you're SMEs, freelancers, or even bookkeepers, you can make use of it. But just to make sure, right, you can make use of our assist.biz for to send e-invoice, meaning you still have to have your invoice, right, coming from your accounting system. You just have to push it into the platform and then we extract the relevant fields from there, and then you can send it to the e-invoice, just like how they even show it earlier during the demo.
Yeah, okay, so I can share with you how we integrate with the accounting system. You can see under connections, we have integrations and invoicing. Under integrations, there's two options. You can connect with Xero or QuickBooks. For example, I will click connect with Xero. And then you need to fill in all the required informations. There's some two-step verification, Yeah. Yeah, and you need to allow access for ASSIST.biz to connect with Xero. And then the process done. It's very simple and easy. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, David, for the explanation and brief. I think all question has been answered, and we have reached our end of the presentation and demo. Before I end the webinar, I would like to share again for you, for the participant to claim your free LHDN e-invoice software at the link that I shared. So you can just go there, and in less than 5 minutes, you can just sign up and register and can use the e-invoice. So thank you so much for the session, and thank you so much for joining the session. Have a good day and bye bye.